My parents let my 7-year-old daughter go hungry for 4 days while I was away, then proudly called it teaching gratitude. I took them to court and shattered their perfect grandparents' image. My parents always had a favorite and it was never me. I thought that old dynamic was a distant memory until they intentionally starved my daughter while we were out of town. Before I dive into what happened, let me introduce ourselves. I'm Griffin Hale and my wife is Serena. Our daughter Lyra is 7. A tiny kid with bright eyes and hair that defies gravity every morning. My parents are Victor and Evelyn Marwick, and my sister is Celeste. Her son Asher is 9. My parents have always adored Asher, treating him like he hung the moon. With Lyra, their attitude was merely polite. That's the extent of it. This trip wasn't a vacation. Serena had a 2-day design workshop across the state, and I had a 2-day certification exam in the same city. With flights, it added up to 4 days total. We booked a one-way car rental as a precaution. Months ago, my parents offered, "Anytime you need help with Lyra, just ask." They repeated the offer 3 weeks before our departure, and we accepted. I made sure to set clear conditions. I sent them a detailed text outlining Lyra's routine and a precise food list. What she actually eats for breakfast, her snacks, lunches, and dinners. I labeled every single container of food we dropped off. I even left a case of her juice boxes and a designated bin with her name on it in their pantry. For extra security, I set up a shared login for their Ring porch camera, the one I installed last year after some package thefts. They used it constantly, so when I said, "If you're watching Lyra, I want to make sure the door alerts are working," no one objected. Everyone agreed. 2 days before we left, my mom declared, "Asher eats everything I put in front of him, never picky." I countered, "Lyra eats perfectly fine if you offer her choices." My dad chuckled, suggesting, "Maybe she needs the clean plate club like we had." I firmly stated, "We don't do that." He just shrugged as if it were a harmless joke. We dropped Lyra off the evening before our flight. She had her frog-shaped backpack and a stack of library books. Mom hugged her, saying, "Maybe we'll make a good eater out of you." I reminded them her food was labeled in the fridge. Simple things, nothing complicated. Victor simply waved me off with, "She'll be fine." Day 1 seemed normal. I texted around lunchtime and Mom replied, "She's fine." That was it, no photo, no follow-up call. I tried calling that evening but there was no answer. The next morning I tried Dad's voicemail and texted, "Please confirm she ate breakfast." 2 hours passed without a response. Finally Mom wrote, "She'll eat when she's hungry." Serena read it over my shoulder. "What does that mean?" she asked. I admitted, "I don't know yet." I opened the Ring app. The event log showed numerous door openings mid-afternoon the previous day. Lyra was outside with chalk. Nothing strange in itself, but the alerts were rapid-fire. Door open, door closed, open again. I saved the log. I texted, "Call us after lunch." No call came. At 3 p.m. my phone buzzed with a voicemail. It was Harold Whitaker, the neighbor across the street. A retired school teacher, the kind who observes without meddling. He said, "Hey Griffin. Hope the trip's going well. Saw Lyra outside quite a bit yesterday. Quiet kid. Just figured you'd be back soon. Alright, take care." No panic in his voice, just a neighbor making an observation. I called Celeste, asking if she'd heard from our parents. She mentioned Mom had texted her a picture of Asher holding an empty plate, captioned, "Such a good eater." Celeste forwarded it. In the same thread from the day before, Mom had written, "Asher eats what's served. Lyra picks. Structure will help." It was the exact tone I grew up with. Celeste received accolades, I got lectures. Now my daughter was getting them. I sent another message, "Call us in 20 minutes. Still no reply. I called Dad again, it went straight to voicemail. Serena looked at me. "We're leaving tonight, aren't we?" I nodded. "Yeah, something's definitely off." We packed quickly. Serena informed her workshop coordinator about a family emergency. I paid the fee to reschedule my exam for the following month. We threw everything into the rental car and hit the road before dark. Halfway home, I checked the Ring log again. More door openings. No faces in frame, just the timestamps. I tried calling one more time. No answer. Serena commented, "If everything was fine, they'd send a photo. That's what my parents do when they babysit." I didn't respond. Instead, I started a grocery list on my phone. Applesauce, crackers, bananas, yogurt, easy-to-eat items in case she hadn't had much. 2 hours from home, a text from Mom popped up. We will talk tomorrow. She needs to learn to eat what's served. Asher never argues. I typed back. We're home in the morning. No fight, no long speech, just facts. The drive to my parents' house was silent, save for the turn signal and wipers. It had rained overnight. The roads were wet and gleaming under the streetlights. The final minutes felt agonizingly long. I kept checking the ring log. The app showed motion clips from the last 2 days. Lyra on the porch steps with chalk, barefoot, hair messy. Timestamps were mid-afternoon, both yesterday and the day before. Nothing showed inside the house, just the porch where the camera faced. I scrolled through them twice. She was out there longer than usual. That phrase, "she'll eat when she's hungry," echoed in my mind. It was the same dismissive tone I'd known since childhood. When Celeste and I were kids, she was the one with shelves full of trophies, piano recitals, spelling bees, science fairs. Mom shrugged as if the question wasn't worth answering. We told her to finish breakfast first. She kept refusing. I looked at Serena. She was already reaching for her phone. We're taking her in, I said. She's fine, Mom repeated. She's going to the hospital, I stated. Move. Dad entered from the hallway just then, pulling on his jacket as if preparing for church. What's the fuss? He asked. She hasn't eaten since when? I asked him directly. She'll eat when she's hungry, he said. Asher never gave us this trouble. That was it. I grabbed Lyra's shoes from the mat, slid them onto her feet, picked her up and walked out. Serena followed with the blanket. No yelling, no debate. Outside, the air felt colder than it should have. I buckled Lyra into the back seat. Serena climbed in beside her with the grocery bag, and we headed for St. Mary's. The yard was unusually quiet. A nurse quickly brought us back after hearing 7-year-old, barely eating, weak, pale. They checked her vitals, blood sugar, and weight. Dr. Kessler arrived 10 minutes later, a short woman with gray streaks in her hair and a no-nonsense demeanor. She's dehydrated and her glucose is low, she stated after a quick exam. When was her last real meal? Tuesday night, I replied, before we left town. That's 4 days, she said flatly. From Tuesday night to Saturday morning. Almost 4 full days. Serena handed over the unopened snacks from the grocery bag. We brought these. She hasn't had anything. Dr. Kessler nodded. We'll start fluids now. Do labs and get her some soft food once she tolerates water. They inserted a small 4. Lyra didn't fight it. She just watched the nurse tape it in place, as if she no longer cared. That struck me worse than if she had cried. A social worker, Monique TR, showed up next, clipboard under her arm. The hospital called me because of the food restriction concern, she explained. I need a timeline. I gave her one. 4 days away, parents insisted they'd watch her. We came back early after strange texts, found her like this. I kept it brief, plain facts. Monique wrote everything down. Do you have those texts? She asked. Yes, I said. Forwarded from my sister. I can send them to you. Please do, she replied. An hour later, labs came back. Low glucose, mild ketones, a slight weight drop compared to her last pediatric visit. Not organ failure territory yet, but it's not nothing either, Dr. Kessler noted. She needs rest, fluids, and food on her terms for now. We'll keep her overnight to be safe. Lyra drank half a juice box slowly, then nibbled on a banana slice Serena held. No one told her to finish it. While she ate, I called Dad. He picked up on the second ring. She's in the hospital, I said. For what? Skipping a few meals. She hasn't eaten since Tuesday, I corrected. Doctor says dehydration, low blood sugar. They're keeping her overnight. Dad made a noise as if this were a theatrical performance. She was being dramatic. Kids eat when they're hungry. Not this time, I said. We'll talk later. I hung up. Serena sat by the bed, reading to Lyra from one of her library books. Lyra leaned against her shoulder, eyes half closed, the 4 humming softly beside her. Monique returned with forms. We'll open a file, she said. Hospital notes, your statement, text from your sister, any photos you have of the food she was offered versus what was eaten. I took pictures of the plate on the counter, I said. Fridge too. Labeled food still there. Send those to me, she instructed. We'll review everything right now. Focus on your daughter. I nodded. Later that afternoon, Dr. Kessler stopped by again. She's stable, she reported. If labs look good tomorrow and she eats normally, she can go home. Lyra finished the rest of the banana, then half a yogurt cup. No one pushed her for more. I stepped out into the hall to call Celeste. I told her Lyra was admitted but stable now. She sent me another text last night, Celeste said, about Asher finishing everything like she was proud of starving Lyra. Send it too, I said. I forwarded the entire chain to Monique's number. Back in the room, Serena was helping Lyra sip water. Color was already returning to her face. I pulled the blanket up higher around her shoulders. We build the record, I told Serena quietly. She nodded. Everything. No more arguing with my parents. The next morning, I drove back to my parents' house to collect Lyra's belongings and gather more proof. Before leaving the hospital, I called the non-emergency line, explaining I wanted an officer present while I retrieved the property. No arguments, no drama, just clean paperwork. They sent an officer to meet me at the address. When I pulled up, the curtains were now open. Dad stood on the porch, arms crossed. The officer walked up with me and stated, "He's here to get his daughter's property." That right? Yes, I confirmed. Dad remained silent. He moved aside when the officer instructed him to let me in. Inside, the house still smelled of old coffee and toast. I started in the kitchen, my phone camera open. The plate from yesterday was still there, the cold eggs now hard as rubber. I snapped photos with timestamps. I opened the fridge. The labeled containers I'd left before the trip were untouched, expiration dates visible. More photos. On the counter sat a notepad with "Finish breakfast-lunch," written in Mom's handwriting. I captured that too. The officer watched silently, making notes in his small book. Next, the trash can. 2 bags inside, both tied. I asked Dad if I could open them. He shrugged. Inside were fast food wrappers dated for the last 2 days. Receipts stapled to the bags. Every receipt noted Asher in the order details. Nothing for Lyra. I put the wrappers in a spare grocery sack and tied it shut. The officer nodded. No searching drawers or phones, only items in plain view or handed to me. Everything else remained untouched. I found Lyra's backpack by the couch, still full of library books. Her toothbrush was in a cup in the bathroom, clothes folded on the guest bed. I collected it all, taking photos of the room before moving anything, ensuring no one could claim damage later. While I packed, Mom walked in from the backyard as if nothing had happened. She ate when she wanted, she said to the air. I didn't answer. The officer didn't either. He just wrote something in his notebook. Outside by the car, I handed him the bag of fast food trash. Chain of custody, I said. He nodded. I'll log it and add it to the evidence inventory. You can request the evidence report. Back at the hospital, Serena sat with Lyra, who was coloring at the tray table. Her 4 was still running, a half-empty juice box beside her hand. She ate the rest of the yogurt, Serena said quietly. Dr. Kessler came in with the morning labs. Glucose is climbing, electrolytes stable. She should be okay to discharge tomorrow if she keeps this up. I nodded and handed Monique, the social worker, my phone with the photos, the kitchen, the untouched fridge food, the fast food receipts for Asher. She scrolled through slowly. This is good documentation, she said. Clear, time-stamped, and you didn't cross any lines to get it. Text from my sister too, I added. She gave me her card with a secure email address. Send everything here. I forwarded the chain Celeste had given me. Lines about Asher finishing meals, Lyra refusing, structure, and consequences. All of it. Monique read a few aloud. Asher 8 seconds. Lyra just sat there. Maybe Griffin will get it now. The rest struck the same note. Asher praised, Lyra punished. She looked at me. Your sister will confirm these came from your mother? Yes, I said. Good, she replied. We keep everything straight. I called Celeste on speaker so Monique could hear her confirm. Celeste said yes, she'd received them directly, saved the originals, and would cooperate fully. After we hung up, Monique stated that CPS would file an initial report today. Medical neglect through food withholding. She explained that the photos, texts, witness statements, and medical records together showed a clear pattern. Serena sat by Lyra, listening. Lyra was slowly eating crackers while watching cartoons on the small hospital TV. I told Monique about Harold, the neighbor who saw Lyra outside alone, looking pale. "Can you get a statement?" she asked. "I'll ask him," I said. She wrote his name down. I called Harold from the hallway. He sounded worried. "Yesterday afternoon," he recounted. She walked toward the apple tree, reached up like she might grab a branch, then sort of folded down onto the grass. I thought maybe she was just tired, but she sat there a long time. I asked if he'd put that in a statement and he agreed. By late afternoon I'd emailed everything. Photos, texts, receipts, my list, Harold's voicemail audio. Celeste sent her originals directly to Monique. Dr. Kessler printed the medical summary. Vitals on arrival, lab results, weight compared to her last pediatric visit, diagnosis codes for dehydration and hypoglycemia. "The hospital notifies CPS in cases like this," she said. "The DA may review depending on the findings." While the paperwork moved, Serena read to Lyra again. Lyra was sitting up more now, color returning to her cheeks. Her 4 was almost done. She waved at a nurse passing by. I stepped into the hallway to call Trent Calder. The civil attorney Mark had recommended. He answered on the second ring. I gave him the short version. 4 days away, parents withheld food, medical records, texts, photos, CPS involved. He advised, "Don't post anything online. Don't talk to them directly beyond logistics. Document everything. When she's discharged, we'll meet and go over civil options. Medical bills, therapy, anything long-term." "Exactly," I said. Back in the room, Monique handed me a temporary no-contact form. "Given the medical findings and risk, all communication with your parents should be by text only for now. No visits until cleared." I signed it. Serena looked relieved. Lyra finished her crackers and reached for another juice box. Serena opened it for her. "Tomorrow she can probably go home," Dr. Kessler reiterated, "but follow up with her pediatrician in 2 days." Monique packed her folders. "We'll review everything this week. Someone from CPS will contact you for a formal interview. Keep your phone on." I nodded. As evening settled, I sat by Lyra's bed, making a list on my phone. Pediatrician appointment, lawyer meeting, CPS interview, neighbor statement. Every step clear, dated, written down. No more guessing games. This time everything would be on record. The next morning Dr. Kessler came in early. She checked Lyra's chart, looked over the new labs and said, "If she keeps eating and drinking today, she can go home later today." Lyra was awake, finishing half a piece of toast Serena brought from the cafeteria. No for now, just water at her side. While she ate, Monique from CPS returned. She carried a thick folder of printouts. "I've reviewed the texts, photos, receipts, and medical notes," she stated. "This meets criteria for medical neglect through intentional food withholding. We'll be coordinating with the DA's office for possible charges." Serena asked, "What happens next?" 2 tracks, Monique explained. Criminal through the DA. Civil if you want damages covered. Our priority is child safety. For now, the no-contact order stands. I nodded. Understood. Monique handed me her card again. "A detective from the DA's office may call you today or tomorrow. They'll want your statement. Keep collecting anything new." I reminded her about Harold, the neighbor, agreeing to give a statement about seeing Lyra outside alone, looking pale. Monique wrote his name down again for the record. By noon, the DA's office called. A prosecutor named Danica Rodas introduced herself, her voice calm and direct. "We've reviewed the initial CPS report," she said. "We'd like the full chain of texts and your photos. We'll also be speaking to hospital staff. Once we verify everything, we'll decide on charges." I told her Celeste could confirm the texts came directly from Mom. Danica said they'd contact her. 2 hours later, Lyra was discharged with instructions. A follow-up pediatrician visit in 2 days, a therapy referral for eating anxiety, and fluids at home. I carried her to the car. She was quiet but held Serena's hand, a juice box clutched in the other. We drove straight home and settled her on the couch. That evening I called Mom and Dad. Mom answered, her voice sharp. Finally decided to talk. Lyra was in the hospital, I said. Dehydration, low blood sugar, for days without proper food. She had food, Mom snapped. She refused to eat it. You fed Asher and withheld from her, I countered. I have photos, receipts, and your texts bragging about it. You're twisting things, Dad interjected from the background. Kids need discipline. I kept my voice even. You didn't discipline. You neglected. That's why CPS and the DA are involved. Silence for a beat. Then Dad said, so you're turning on your own parents? You starved my kid because I wasn't your favorite, I replied. You made it about me, not her. Mom said, you're exaggerating. Tell that to the lab results, I said, and then I hung up. I didn't call again. The next day, Reverend Elias Brooks from their church called me. I heard something happened, he said carefully. I gave him the short version, hospitalization, CPS case, no contact order. He sighed. Your father leads 2 youth programs here. That won't continue while this is active. Your call, I said. He replied, we protect kids first. By afternoon, the church board emailed me that Dad was suspended from all volunteer duties pending the investigation. The garden club followed 2 days later. One of their officers called Serena directly. Evelyn organizes children's planting events, she said. Given the circumstances, she's removed from the schedule. Serena simply said, all right, and hung up. That week, Dr. Sienna Alvarez, the child therapist, saw Lyra for the first time. She had a small office with shelves of toys and a calm voice. She asked simple questions while Lyra colored at the table. What food she liked, if she felt safe eating at home, what made her nervous. Afterward, Dr. Alvarez advised us, give her control over choices. No pressure to finish plates. She needs to know food isn't conditional anymore. We followed it precisely. At home, I set up a small shelf in the pantry with granola bars, crackers, and applesauce cups, labeled Lyra's snacks. She could take them anytime, no permission needed. The first night she ate half a granola bar, put the rest back and asked, is that okay? It's yours, I said. You eat what you want when you want. She nodded, though she didn't fully believe it yet. 2 days later, Danica from the DA's office called back. We've confirmed the texts, photos, and medical reports, she said. We're filing initial charges for child endangerment. Detectives will handle interviews next week. I asked if Celeste would need to give a statement. Yes, Danica confirmed. She has the original texts. I told Celeste that evening. She agreed right away. I should have called you sooner, she said. You didn't starve her, I replied. Mom tried calling twice that night. Both times went to voicemail. The no-contact order remained in place. At school pickup the next day, Lyra's teacher asked if everything was all right. Serena handed her the pediatrician's note, excusing the absence, with no details given. That weekend, I saw Dad in the grocery store parking lot. He started walking over. I said, court dates first, then talk. He stopped, turned back to his car without a word. The following Monday, CPS emailed me the official case number. Attached were scanned copies of the hospital records, photos I'd submitted, and confirmation that interviews were scheduled. Serena taped the pediatrician follow-up instructions to the fridge, next to the therapy schedule. Lyra put 2 granola bars in her backpack before school, without asking anyone. That was the point. The next phase would be charges in courtrooms, but inside our house, the rules were simple now. No one controlled her plate but her, and we'd keep it that way. 2 weeks after Lyra came home, I sat across from Prosecutor Danica Rodas in a small interview room at the county office, Serena by my side. Danica had a laptop open and the hospital report stacked in front of her. We've reviewed everything, she stated. Texts, photos, medical records, CPS notes, your sister's confirmation. We're charging both your parents with misdemeanor child endangerment. There's also a neglect enhancement because of the medical findings. She slid a paper across the table. This explains the charges and your rights as the reporting party. Please read and sign so we can move forward. I read it. Simple, clear. I signed. Serena did too. Detectives interviewed us afterward, asking for exact dates, times, and every message we had. I handed over printed copies of everything. Harold, the neighbor, gave a statement the same day, describing seeing Lyra outside alone multiple times, looking pale and moving slowly. Celeste sat for her interview later that week. She confirmed Mom sent the text directly to her and gave them her phone so they could download the originals. She didn't hesitate. 2 weeks after charges were filed, my parents were served with summons. No arrests but mandatory court dates. The no-contact order with Lyra remained in place. The first hearing was brief. The judge read the charges and set conditions. No unsupervised contact with minors, no interfering with witnesses, stay away from our house and Lyra's school. My parents said nothing in the courtroom. Their lawyer asked for a continuance, which the judge granted. Meanwhile, I met with Trent Calder, the civil attorney. He reviewed the medical bills, therapy estimates, and my missed work hours. We'll file for full reimbursement plus damages, he said. They documented their own behavior. This is straightforward. Serena handed him a folder with everything organized by date. Hospital first, pediatrician second, therapist third. Trent nodded. Good. The cleaner the record, the stronger the case. By the second court date, the DA had added another count based on medical expert testimony. Dr. Kessler stated in her report that 4 days without proper food or fluids at Lyra's age carried real medical risk, pushing the case from discipline gone wrong into criminal neglect territory. Our parents' lawyer argued they were old-fashioned, believing children should clean their plates before dessert. Danica showed the text where they compared Lyra to Asher, called her stubborn, and said consequences were needed. She presented photos of the untouched meals I'd left in the fridge and receipts proving Asher ate takeout while Lyra received nothing new. The judge read silently for a long moment before saying, "This will proceed to trial." Outside the courthouse, reporters tried to ask questions. We said nothing. Celeste said nothing. Our parents walked past cameras, their lawyer blocking questions. At home, Lyra was growing stronger. Dr. Alvarez, her therapist, confirmed the pantry shelf with her name on it was a good step. Lyra told her she liked knowing snacks were always there. She needs control over food after having it used as punishment, Dr. Alvarez explained. Keep letting her decide when and what. We did. The trial started 6 weeks later. For a misdemeanor here, that's fast. The calendar moved quicker than we expected for our county. It was a small courtroom, maybe 30 seats. Serena and I sat behind Danica. Celeste came too, mostly for Asher's sake, she said. Danica opened with medical records, then text, then photos. Each piece was shown on screen with dates and times. The jury saw Mom's line. Asher finished seconds. Lyra gets nothing until she learns. They saw the photos of the kitchen and fridge exhibits. They read Harold's statement about seeing her try to reach the apple tree before collapsing. Dr. Kessler testified about dehydration, low glucose, and weight loss. She explained how children's bodies decline faster than adults. The defense repeated the discipline, not neglect line. They claimed my parents loved both grandchildren but believed in tough love. Danica then read a text where Mom wrote, "She's stubborn like Griffin. Maybe this will teach him too." It landed. By the end of the week, the verdict came back. Guilty on both counts, neglect and endangerment. Sentencing occurred 2 weeks later. The judge ordered 1 year of probation, mandatory parenting classes, 200 hours of community service not involving children, fines covering court costs, and an order prohibiting unsupervised contact with Lyra unless modified by the court. Outside, reporters asked if we were satisfied. Serena said the goal was safety, and that's what we achieved. The civil case moved even faster. Trent filed for medical bills, therapy costs, my missed work, and damages. Our parents' lawyer tried to settle for a small amount. Trent refused. 3 months after filing, the judge awarded full medical reimbursement, full therapy costs, lost wages, and an additional amount for emotional distress. That pace was remarkably quick for a civil case in our county. The total judgment was just under $95,000. They had to take out a second mortgage on their house. Through it all, we maintained the no-contact order. Mom sent one letter through her lawyer, asking for supervised visits. We said no. The church permanently removed Dad from all roles after the conviction. The garden club banned Mom from events involving children. At home, Lyra began eating normally again. She still kept a granola bar in her backpack just in case, but Dr. Alvarez assured us that would fade with time. Celeste also told us she'd cut contact. If they could do that to Lyra, she said they could have done it to Asher if he wasn't the favorite. We believed it. By the end of the year, all court dates were done, criminal, civil, everything. The verdicts didn't fix what happened, but they ensured it couldn't happen again. And that was the whole point. The following spring, about 6 months after the trial, life finally felt normal again. Lyra was back in school, at a healthy weight, with a steady appetite, and, crucially, control over her own food. Saturday mornings were hers. Pancakes, cereal, or fruit, whatever she wanted. If she stopped halfway through, no one said a word. Dr. Alvarez still saw her twice a month. She reported that Lyra no longer blamed herself, understanding it wasn't her fault. Keep giving her choices, she told us. Let her see food is always available. By spring, Lyra stopped asking to keep snacks in her room. She didn't need to anymore. The civil judgment paid off all medical bills, therapy, and lost wages by summer. Our parents attempted one more time, through their lawyer, to request supervised visits. We denied it, filing the denial with the court. Celeste kept her distance too. I can't look at them the same, she told me. Asher was just lucky it wasn't him. Lyra and Asher saw each other once at a library program, with Serena and me present the entire time. They laughed at books like regular kids. Nothing about court came up. At school, Serena wrote on the lunch form, "She chooses what she eats, no punishments." The counselor nodded. That fall, Lyra joined a beginner jiu-jitsu class. Twice a week, small kids learning rolls and blocks. Her coach told me she was quiet but strong. At home, Serena planted a garden box. Lyra watered it every evening, eating the first strawberry right on the steps. We saw Mom and Dad once at the grocery store in December. Serena held Lyra's shoulder, and we walked right past. No one followed. One night, Lyra asked, "Am I still your favorite?" "You're my only kid," I said. "And yes, you're my favorite, even if you eat nothing at dinner." She smiled and went to sleep. By the 1-year mark, civil payments were complete. Criminal probation for Mom and Dad remained active, though we didn't track it. The church permanently banned Dad from youth programs. The garden club removed Mom from anything involving kids. Both letters went into the case folder with court papers and hospital records. Dr. Alvarez said monthly therapy wasn't needed anymore. Lyra talked about school, friends, the garden. Dr. Alvarez told us the hospital weekend barely came up. That's good. The pantry shelf stayed full anyway. At her jiu-jitsu exhibition, Lyra bowed, performed every move slowly but steadily, then looked straight at us. Serena clapped hard. On the way home, Lyra asked for ice cream. We stopped. No one told her to finish it. She didn't hoard snacks anymore.